James barely had time to register the violet-skinned hand clamping over his mouth before he was yanked sideways into the narrow maintenance corridor. His environmental suit scraped against the metal walls as his assailant dragged him deeper into the shadows, away from the main thoroughfare of Refuge Station Theta 7. "Quiet," hissed a feminine voice with an accent he couldn't place. "Do you want them to find you?" James's tactical training kicked in. He assessed his captor in the dim emergency lighting. Humanoid, approximately 1.7 meters tall, with iridescent violet skin and large amber eyes that seemed to glow faintly. Her cranial structure suggested she was Velorian, one of the hundreds of species that had sought asylum on the Outer Rim stations during the Convergence War. "Who are them?" James whispered once she removed her hand. The alien woman, she couldn't have been more than 25 in human years, looked at him with an expression somewhere between fascination and horror. "You really don't know where you are, do you?" "I'm a salvage operator. My ship's navigation failed near the Kepler belt. This was the nearest station." James studied her more carefully now. "What's going on here?" She grabbed his wrist, her three-fingered hand surprisingly strong. "My name is Aliana, and you, human, just stumbled into the last place in the galaxy a male should be." Before James could protest, Aliana pulled him through a series of increasingly cramped passages. The station's architecture didn't match any standard design he recognized. Too organic, too deliberately labyrinthine. Finally, they emerged into a vast underground chamber that made James's breath catch. The bunker stretched for what must have been a kilometer in every direction. Bioluminescent panels provided soft lighting across multiple levels of living quarters, all carved into what appeared to be the station's reinforced core. And everywhere, James saw women. Velorians like Aliana, their violet skin shimmering in the artificial light. Tall, elegant Kasari with their characteristic crystalline hair. Compact, muscular Threnody warriors with their distinctive facial markings. Dozens of species he recognized and dozens more he didn't. Thousands of them, moving through the space with purposeful activity, tending hydroponic gardens, manning communication stations, conducting what looked like military drills. But no males, not a single one. "What is this place?" James breathed. Aliana pulled him into a small alcove, shielding him from view. Theta 7 isn't a refuge station. It's a survival bunker. When the Convergence began deploying the resonance weapon 3 years ago, they targeted males specifically. The frequencies were calibrated to disrupt the neural patterns of male brain chemistry across hundreds of species. James felt his blood run cold. The resonance weapon was supposed to be a myth, Convergence propaganda to demoralize enemy forces. That's not possible, the energy requirements alone. They made it possible. Aliana's amber eyes held ancient pain despite her youth. "My brother was in the next room when the first pulse hit. He just stopped. Brain death in 3.7 seconds. Billions across the sector gone in the first wave." She gestured to the bunker around them. "The survivors, families, soldiers, civilians, we fled to places like this. Shielded stations deep in asteroid fields where the weapon's range couldn't reach. But only females survived the journey. Over time, the stations became complicated. Some developed peaceful societies, others," she trailed off darkly. "And Theta 7. We're 1,247 women from 63 species, trying to survive and hoping the Convergence war ends before our supplies run out." Aliana fixed him with an intense stare. "Which brings us to you. You're the first male to set foot in this bunker in 3 years. And human males, according to our medical database, have a unique neural structure that made them surprisingly resistant to the resonance weapon's effects." James understood now why she'd pulled him aside. "If word gets out. Some here lost husbands, sons, brothers. They might celebrate your presence as hope." Aliana's expression darkened. "Others might see you as a threat, a reminder of what they've lost, and still others." She didn't finish, but James understood the implications. Then why help me? Why not just let them find me? Aliana was quiet for a long moment. Because I'm a xenobiologist, and if you're immune to the resonance weapon, your neural structure might be the key to developing a countermeasure. You could save billions of males still in convergent stasis pods, including my brother if he was stored in time. She pulled out a small holographic projector, displaying complex genetic sequences James couldn't hope to understand. But I can't research this alone, and I can't reveal you to the station's leadership. Not yet. Not until I understand exactly why you survived. What are you proposing? You stay hidden. I'll bring you food and equipment from my lab. You help me analyze your neural patterns, run cognitive tests, compare your brain chemistry to our database of affected species. Aliana's eyes held desperate hope. 6 months, maybe less. We find the answer, we transmit it to the resistance, and we might actually end this war. James looked out at the bunker full of survivors, at the gardens growing food for thousands, at the children's quarters where the next generation learned survival skills, at the memorial wall where names were carved in 100 different scripts. These weren't just refugees. They were humanity's and 100 other species' last hope. If I'm discovered before then. Aliana smiled grimly. Then you'd better hope you're a fast runner, James. He nodded slowly. 6 months, but I have one condition. You teach me how to pronounce my name in Valorian. Something tells me I'm going to need all the cultural fluency I can get. For the first time, Aliana actually laughed. Deal. Now come on, I know a storage bay that hasn't been used since the evacuation. It's cramped, but it has power and ventilation. As they crept back into the maintenance tunnels, James realized he'd gone from salvage operator to perhaps the most important research subject in the galaxy. All he had to do was survive in a bunker full of 1,000 women who didn't know he existed. How hard could that be?